Hey, this is Gabrielle with an exercise to help you lengthen the muscle between the neck and the shoulder, otherwise known as the supraspinatus muscle. In 25 years of working with people with musculoskeletal injuries, it's become clear to me that this is the muscle that's the hardest to lengthen of the entire body. And people will come in with their ears close to their shoulders. And the longer they live without learning this, the more their shoulders end up being up by their ears or even up and forward, which brings your whole weight forward. So, this is something you can do to learn how to have the kind of length in your shoulders that allows you to feel like you have more space in your body and less tension. It also saves you energy because you have more available energy when your muscles are loose than when you have them tight with unconscious tension. So, a lot of people will be told they need to stretch. I don't even use the word because it's a way of compartmentalizing things. We've been socialized to think of things in these little rigid compartments, but that's not how the body works. The body is a system. There's no line between the neck vertebrae and the back vertebrae, for example. It's one continuous spine. And in the same way, the nervous system is a system governed by the brain, and the brain directs all of the physiological responses, including the tension in the muscles. But for some reason, conventional medicine doesn't even go there. They just completely ignore this, which is ridiculous because your breath is a way to interact with your nervous system. That's pretty much common knowledge at this point. You'll see it in movies and TV shows. People will take a deep breath when they want to calm down. But the question is, are you actually using that knowledge? Do you know how to implement it? Have you experienced the sensation of release and relief that you feel when you have less tension in your body that can come when you know how to use your breath appropriately? Have you experienced what it feels like when you use your breath and you actually can intervene in the stress response? That's what creates internal motivation. For me, the deal is that after 25 years of working with this issue, with myself personally and with others, it's hard sometimes to break it down to beginner's mind so that I can make it really transparent how to do this. Because you'll actually get better at it as you go on doing it. And so you sort of skip steps when you get really good at something because they're automated, if you will. They're reflexive. They're something that you do without thinking. So now I'm trying to do something that's really for the beginner so that you can follow a progression and try different variations as you go. And as you practice at least 3 times a week, you'll find that you get better at it. And each time you get better at it, you experience greater relief. So, if you are someone who meditates, it's something you can do first thing in the morning as you get centered and as you meditate. If you are not a meditator, don't worry. Just think about it as an exercise for your muscles using the breath, and it will help you get your day going in a peaceful, calm, focused way. Another thing that is vastly overlooked is that the body does have its own innate wisdom. In conventional medicine, it's not discussed, right? We know that the body can heal a wound, for example. And in the same way, the nervous system can reset itself. So doesn't it make sense to learn ways to access and to accelerate and to support that process? So in this case, to access the way that the nervous system can self-regulate, I would ask you to sit upright because you're going to use gravity to help create length in the muscles using the weight of your own shoulders and the weight of your own arms. Find a position where you can be supported and yet upright. So you can be sitting on a bed or on a chair, but just make sure that your spine is upright. And I won't say straight because the spine has a natural curvature. But if you use bolsters and pillows, sometimes I actually use a swimming noodle and I'll put it behind me along the length of my spine to help me recognize in a sensory way where straight is or where that aligned position is so that my head is over my center of mass. You just want your head over your center of mass, which is your pelvis. And begin to take a few deep breaths, exhaling through the mouth. And as you exhale, think of these as cleansing breaths, releasing all the negative energies, the negative emotions, anything you might have accumulated that is no longer really helpful for the moment. And as you breathe, begin to notice where your body expands as you inhale. So this is to highlight what you do when there's no instruction. When you just breathe deeply, where does your body expand? The belly or the ribs? People have different habits. It's a foundational principle of learning to start to notice small differences. So chances are you're probably expanding into the belly as you inhale. And notice how as you exhale, everything contracts slightly. And as you inhale, even as the belly expands, the chest rises ever so slightly forward and upward and contracts like a bellows as you exhale. See if you can take a few moments to get in touch with the sensory input of your ribs expanding and coming closer together as you inhale and exhale. And continue to breathe. Make each inhale slightly longer than usual, each exhale slightly longer than usual without strain. And in this exercise, you're going to activate your core. And to do so, you're going to exaggerate the way you use the muscles of inhalation and exhalation so that you can lengthen the muscles in your shoulders. Consider that the length of your muscles at rest is an average of all the movements you do in a day. So if you hang out with your shoulders really tight and compressed all the time, the average length of that range is going to be very short. So this exercise is something you need to do on a regular basis because it helps take you through a range of motion in those muscles that allows them to be longer. And when your brain calibrates the resting length of your muscles, it will use that average and calibrate a longer resting length. And that's why you need to do this exercise on a regular basis, because it takes you through a range of motion in the muscles, in the tiny muscles around the ribs and in the spine, as well as in the shoulders, which increase your range of motion, thereby increasing the average length of the muscle, which in turn increases the resting length. So now what are we going to do that's different? As you're breathing slightly more slowly than usual, you're going to bring your attention to your core. And this time, think about inhaling by contracting the belly and inhaling into the lungs in the chest. And then each time you relax, as you exhale, just let everything go. Refine it a little bit so that you're contracting as you exhale from the very bottom of your abdomen. And this time, think about breathing by contracting the belly and inhaling into the lungs from the very bottom of your abdomen. These are muscles that people stop engaging after some point in time. So as you inhale, if you track where does the inhale occur first? From the lowest rib, can you follow it all the way up to your collarbones? Because that's how far your lungs go. They go up that high, but very few people breathe using their entire capacity of their lungs. So as you exhale, relax, let everything go. It's as if you're taking a rest at the end of each exhale. And then when you inhale, inhale from the bottom of your abdomen, follow it all the way up to your ribs, and breathe into your ribs, expanding all the way up to your collarbones, and feel yourself rising in the chest as you inhale. At some point, you may feel compelled to try your hardest, but this is where you want to do just enough so you know you're doing it. You don't want to go to the full extreme. This is not about strain, it's just about range. So, breathing in, contract the belly as you breathe in, exhaling to relax the belly, breathing in from the lowest rib all the way up to the top of the collarbone, because that's how high your shoulders can go as well. As you inhale, can you feel it? And then as you exhale, just let them relax, let everything go. Now phase into deliberately inhaling by compressing the belly so that the ribs expand. And as the ribs expand, feel your shoulders rise toward your ears. Hold for a second or two and relax everything as you exhale. And then take a normal breath in between. Contracting the belly, expanding the ribs, holding for a moment, and let everything relax as you exhale, and take a normal breath in between. Do this at your own pace for a few moments. And as it becomes easier, you can skip the normal breath in between. Just be careful to do it in such a way that there's no strain. You may find that as you inhale and you get ready to exhale, that it's actually easier to exhale slightly through the mouth. Just be soft in your throat and your lips and do what comes easily. Take the path of least resistance. Sometimes at first, if you breathe this way consecutively for 10 breaths or so, it can be challenging because it actually changes the chemistry of your bloodstream, which may feel uncomfortable at first. You're oxygenating your system in a way that's really helpful for cognition and for general health of your muscles. Intersperse it with a few normal breaths to take a rest from that if that's helpful. And then go back to inhale, where you compress from the bottom of your abdomen all the way up to the top of your belly, exhaling by relaxing everything. Inhale by compressing the belly, expanding the chest as it rises, allowing your shoulders to follow. Your arms and hands are just completely relaxed. And as you exhale, you're using the weight of your own shoulders and arms to create length in the muscle between the neck and the shoulder, otherwise known as the supraspinatus muscle. And the next time you go for this expansion of breath, by compressing the belly, expanding the ribs, start with the pelvic floor, as if doing a Kegel exercise. Inhaling into the chest all the way from the bottom of the 12th rib up towards the collarbone, and hold for a moment. And exhaling, relaxing as you exhale. Just breathe normally. Then begin the next breath with a kegel so that you're closing the sphincter muscle at the bottom of your pelvis as you inhale by compressing your abdomen towards your spine, expanding in your ribs. And if you continue in this way at your own pace, you may start to feel an increase in circulation or sensation all the way down to your legs. In Chinese traditional medicine, they talk about stagnant qi. Well, if you've been sleeping, chances are there hasn't been a lot of movement, a lot of circulation, and this will help you get the qi moving as well as the oxygen and the blood flow, so that every cell in your body is more awake, aware, alive. And once more, exhaling down to the very bottom of yourself, closing the pelvic floor as if you were trying to hold everything in. Inhale into the ribs as you feel your chest rise and your shoulders rise, purely because your chest is expanded. Hold for a moment and then let everything go. Exhale through the mouth if it's more comfortable. Take a normal breath and feel the difference. Relax as you inhale versus when you start with the pelvic floor, compressing the belly all the way up to allow the ribs to expand. Hold and let everything be still, and then let everything relax as you exhale. Following with a normal breath or two as needed. A third phase would be to add this additional element of a ball of light. As you inhale, just breathe normally for a few takes, imagining a small ball of light from the tailbone rising up the back of the spine to the middle of your head. As you exhale, imagine that ball of light traveling down the front of yourself back down to your tailbone. And imagine this ball of light rising up the back as you inhale to the center of the head. As you exhale, allow the ball of light to fall down the front of yourself. And do that a few times at your own pace. Allowing that ball of light to rise up the back of yourself, up to the middle of your head, and hold. Then as you release the breath, allow the ball to fall down the front of yourself, relaxing everything. And continue in this way, letting everything slow down, and notice any tingling that you may feel in the palms of your hands or even the soles of your feet as you inhale from the pelvic floor all the way up to your ribs, expanding, holding, and relaxing everything as you release. Take a few normal breaths and continue at your own pace, either alternating the normal breath with the breath that uses your core muscles. Hold and release several times until you feel tired, and then just breathe normally as a rest. Play with variations. Maybe take 2 breaths one way, 2 breaths the other. Be playful. Try different things. What happens if you start from the upper abdomen versus the lower abdomen? What happens if you start with the pelvic floor? Can you sense the differences is really what's important here, because you're gaining body awareness as well. What happens if you simply start by compressing the belly and expanding the lungs and then inhaling? This is all in service of noticing that what you do may seem to be the same movement, but there are many ways to do the same thing. Once you become adept at variations, you have more freedom of choice about how you do what you do. This allows you to use your weight, your breath, your awareness, your belly, and your ribs in different ways to facilitate ease and length in your muscles. So it's a mindful approach to lengthening muscles using breath as a way to create an environment conducive to what your nervous system needs to be able to reset itself, to reset the resting length of the muscles. It's simple, right? It's not complicated. And yet people don't seem to do things that are simple because we've been programmed to think that couldn't possibly work, or there must be some magic bullet or something I can buy that will make me feel better. But that, as you have probably discovered by now, isn't true. Or maybe people feel like they don't have the discipline to do it. But I'm not a fan of the word discipline. I feel that people change when it hurts enough. The thing is, you don't always have to wait until it hurts so much that you have to do something different. You can motivate yourself from the inside by trying things that are outside your comfort zone and seeing if they actually make you feel better. That way you can make changes before you're in so much pain that you have to do something different. It's much harder to correct something when it's that deeply ingrained. And just remember, we've been indoctrinated to believe that strength is the entire issue that governs muscles. And that's just not true. Length is the other half. Strength is only half the picture. If you don't have that length in the muscles, you're going to feel tense and compressed and trapped all the time. So do this several days a week and see if you don't feel a little bit more freedom of motion throughout the day. Because oxygen itself helps release tension. It's free. It's something you can do anywhere. It's portable. It doesn't take a lot of time, maybe 10 minutes a day. And you just have to make a marker in your schedule to do this first thing in the morning. Do it before you even get out of bed. And create a way to make the recording easy for you to access. Maybe put it on your phone, have your phone somewhere where you can just grab it without having to muss with a computer. Ultimately, you want to be able to do this on your own and guide yourself. But at the beginning, it's helpful to have a recording. Ultimately, this is about returning sovereignty and freedom of choice, freedom of health to you so that you can take care of your own well-being and your muscle health as much as possible. So for that reason, it's good to learn to do it on your own. But at first, use the recording. And if you go for a few weeks or months and sort of forget or feel a lack of motivation, we all need a little reminder or kickstart sometimes, a little guidance. So go back to the recording if you need to. Let me be that guide and place the recording on your phone where it's easy to access. When you're asleep, or if you wake up in the middle of the night, or actually, I would not do this before you try to go back to sleep. This is a good exercise for when you want to wake yourself up, because the way you're breathing actually works with oxygen in such a way that it's going to wake you up more. Set your life up so that it's easy for you to do the things that allow you to feel better. It's kind of a no-brainer. Thanks for listening, and stay tuned for more. Be sure to remember that self-care is the best health care. And I have been saying this since long before it became self-evident to the rest of the world from all the craziness that's been happening. Just have a great day, and may you be centered and move freely throughout your day with presence and appreciation. Thank you.